Welcome to The Good Pod, where today we'll be talking about The Good Wife, Season 1, Episode 23, Running. I am one of your hosts, Jason Reed. With me, as always, my co-host, Marissa Garza. Marissa, you good?
I'm good. You good?
I'm good. I'm very good. Listen, this is a milestone.
Jason, we finally made it.
We finally made it to the Season 1 finale, only 7 episodes after you initially told me the
Yep.
finale was.
Mhm.
We are finally here. Listen, it's a big moment for us in this podcast. You know, some
Yeah.
podcasts, they start and they go a few episodes and they end. So far, so good. We're at 23 episodes of the main good one, and not counting the 10 Elsbeths we did. So
Right.
we're rocking this thing, and we're not planning on stopping anytime soon. We're getting
We
to this
got
puppy. Let's do this
yeah.
thing.
We got many episodes and seasons and series to go.
Yeah, you're not getting rid of us, people. You're not. We're here for the long haul. End of the first season. You know, leave off with an interesting spot.
Of course. Yes.
I can't imagine 2011 Jason having to wait like 3 months for the resolution of this ending.
I know.
Now,
You
present
really
day
were it
Jason.
was because it was Peter, like, you were really curious if Peter was gonna run, right? Like, that
Oh
was
yeah,
really keeping
totally.
you at the edge of your
Yeah.
seat.
And then present day Jason just had to wait a few seconds till the first episode of season 2 came on. So listen, present Jason's doing a lot better than past Jason. Before we dive deep into all of the good wife goodness, the ending of season 1, the phone call of all phone calls,
Mm.
I just want to remind you guys of some free and easy ways that you can really help this podcast out. Anywhere you're watching, listening to this podcast, there's a way for you to rate, review, and subscribe. If you're on YouTube, hit the little follow button. If you're on Spotify, I think it's a little plus button. Same thing with Apple. Subscribe to the podcast. That is what helps people get the podcast more in their eyes. That's what tells the podcast platforms that people are interested in the show. Also, the same thing with rating and reviewing. If you rate and review, unless the podcast platforms know, hey, this is a good show. Let me suggest it to someone else that might like this. So that really helps us out to rate, review, and subscribe. If you ever want to talk to us, give us comments, feedback, all constructive we would prefer. You can also conversate with us a little bit over on our email at thegoodpodfeedback@gmail.com. If you have any questions, comments about upcoming or past episodes, we would love to talk to you about it. If you have any YouTube comments, leave them down there. We always check there. There's so many ways for you to
Yeah.
share your thoughts and opinions with us. So we would love to hear from you.
Yeah, and I think Spotify just maybe not just, but recently started comments on their podcast too, so you can leave us a message there. We will check all of the places. I don't know how well like pigeons or air writing would work these days, but give it a go. We'll find it.
I'm sending the pigeons to Chicago. You can handle that level. You can handle that part of the feedback. I don't need any pigeons around here.
Pigeons pigeons do come up in this universe at some point.
Oh yeah,
So feel
very,
free
very
to
morbid and weird way.
send them our way. But yeah, we'd love to hear from you. We are also, talking about Elspeth, who we've seen a couple of times and over here on The Good Wife, but she's got her own series that we're talking about here on The Good Pod. We are releasing those on Saturdays, keeping The Good Wife here on Mondays. So hopefully you will join us for that conversation, because who doesn't love a CBS procedural? So, and I know that there's like a lot of them out there with Matlock joining. Do you think there'll be like
Mm,
a crossover episode between Matlock and Elspeth? And
there
that
should
would
be. I mean, especially considering apparently there's like this twist in the Matlock
oh,
series. Listen, we don't need any more work to do. But
no.
I think I could definitely like it. Does be interesting to get a Matlock Ellsworth crossover to see who can out sleuth the other one. I think Matlock is similar to an Elsbeth, where they're supposed to be a lawyer, but actually they're kind of a detective. Where we used to like talk about the Ellsworth show and be like, why is she sleuthing as a detective? But then it's like, and then we watch A Good Wife, and they're pretty much doing the same thing. So I was like, oh, well, that wasn't a original idea. They were already doing that in Good Wife, because alarmingly so. I think in this first season of The Good Wife, we didn't get that much courtroom stuff. It was a lot of figuring out who murdered who, figuring out what happened to whatever, and not so much of courtroom drama and gymnastics. It was interesting.
It could have been like the Kalinda show, to be quite honest,
Mm-hmm.
because of the amount of work that she did for these cases. But yes, we are here at the season finale of season 1, and we're just going to run it down. There's a lot going on, a lot of different stories tied up here, so we'll just take it kind of scene by scene. Before we jump in, though, Jason, any like how did this sit with you overall?
I enjoyed it. I mean, from the opening, which was, dramatic and, secretive, like, ooh, what's going on here? A dramatic opening, a dramatic closing with things just kind of plainly said that we've been waiting to be said from certain people. And I think that exchange at the very end is just like the biggest nugget that we're going to probably tackle and talk about
Yeah.
and dissect. But of course, we do have our we gotta have a case of the week. And we've been talking about cases of the weeks for a few weeks now, as like they kind of go in one direction,
This
and all of a sudden
one.
they just skirt.
This one has so many holes. And I like, to be quite honest, listeners, I'm sorry, but it is hard to like put all the pieces together. I'm like, there's a task force for this and that, and then there's something. So like they were just like yada yada. There's a there's a case here
Mhm.
somewhere for you people. But really the stars of the show here, of course, was everything that was going on with Will and Alicia. So without further ado, let's get into it. This episode is titled Running. What are they running from? Who's
Running,
running?
running, and
Running.
running, running, and running, running. Probably,
Well,
probably a big song in 2010.
yeah,
Trying to think
probably.
of a
You're
Black Eyed Peas
yeah.
discography, and when "Running" was a big, a big hit. I would say probably within a couple years of this episode, coming out, was "Running" was a big thing. Who is running? Who's running? Oh, Peter's running. Okay,
Yeah,
I get it.
Peter's running.
I was like, wait
Peter's
a minute.
running, but also like you could make there's a lot of I don't know. There's a lot of running. But at the beginning of the episode, they are redoing the floors. Okay. Like, don't try to get into the law firm because they are redoing the floors. This is a very intense opening to tell us that there is a witness protection program conversation happening with Jack Arkin, who is a member of the Cook County Task Force on Drugs or something
Yeah,
like
pretty
that.
much.
And he was
Bad
he has
stuff. Task force of the
yeah,
bad stuff.
yeah, with the bad guys and the bad dudes. And he witnessed and was forced to participate in illegal activities by other members of the task force. They're trying to get him into witness protection. He At the table, we see the usual suspects from Lockhart and Gardner, but we also have Kalinda's FBI friend, who I still don't know the name of.
Her name's Jill. When I was
Thank
doing
you.
when I was doing my IMDb sleuthing, I saw a entry for her. I was like, oh, her name's Jill. Her name's Jill Stein. Like, okay. I don't know
Like
if
Jill
we've
Stein,
ever. I mean,
like
yeah, that's the name.
weird.
I don't know if
Okay.
we've ever said her name aloud in this TV show. We just missed it, but we have. If we did, we did. Maybe her name gets brought up later, or again, we didn't know Julius or Julius until four
Yeah.
appearances in of what his name was.
Well, Jill is like the state's attorney is investigating this. Why does this guy need to be in witness protection program? And basically they're afraid that this would like not look good for like how this would play in the state's attorney's election.
Well, I mean,
So they're
because
trying to be like really really careful about it.
yeah, because I think Childs is the one that started this task force.
Yes.
So if the task force is seen to be corrupt, Childs is not going to like that. So Childs is going to try to
To
stymie any
delay it.
investigation that is into these people because he's trying to get reelected.
Yes. Yes. Like the child's is that he is.
Yeah,
Um
I did like Jill. Okay, I'll call her Jill, so the FBI lady
yeah.
or Kalinda's girl. I like how she's like, "Why is Alicia here? Because this is some conflict of interest." And Kalinda, of course, like, "No, you stay, Alicia, you stay." And just like this silent war between Kalinda and Jill, and Alicia's like,
Yeah.
"I'll leave. Like, I got no problem. Y'all can handle this. I got another plot line to be going into. Y'all, I'm busy over in the B story this week. Okay, you guys can stay in the A story and figure this out."
Well, speaking of the B story, randomly, as Alicia leaves the room to neglect any conflict of interest here, she runs into Giada from DePaul just
Yo,
sitting on the stairs.
Giada. who speaks like this. Like, Gianna, that is not your real voice. Come on now. Yes, it is. I swear. This is how I talk all the time in my seductive, seductress voice. What do you mean? This is how I talk. Like, come on, Gianna. Be real. Be real.
Giada was like giotting real hard there
Yeah.
and like kind of sizing up Alicia, trying to figure out like what the vibe was there. And then there was like this very dated conversation around, or at least acknowledgement around JK.
Oh boy, this is screamed 2011. First of all, she had the wired
Yep.
earbuds. Like, oh my
Yep.
gosh, look at this kid sitting here listening to portable music with her small headphones, the little buds. Back in Alicia was like, back in my day, we used to have proper headphones, like Marissa's wearing right now. Actually, Marissa's got old lady headphones on right now, and
I,
it's like,
they're very comfortable.
yeah, I mean, this is 2010. Like, oh my gosh, cutting edge technology, wired earbuds like I have right now. Actually, it's just funny how they try to portray Giada as this young child. Like, oh my gosh, she probably has an iPod, listening to portable MP3s, just sitting here lounging in her jeans. Like, it
And
was
then
so
of course
funny.
she has to say JK, and Alicia like doesn't
It's
understand
just
what
like,
JK means.
what? What is JK?
JK, what?
Oh man,
Just kidding.
it's the circle of life. It really is.
It was so
I
weird.
feel like there are probably a bunch of 50 and 60-year-olds right now going JK, because that's just the circle of life of vernacular and slang in
Don't
our life.
get me started on what the kids are saying these days, because I
Skibbity
that it
toilet
makes me,
riz.
yeah, it makes me feel real old.
Listen,
Lock in chat. Lock in chat. It is time for the podcast.
listen, try living in a house with a 15-year-old, okay? Like, and trying
I
to, and again, you talk about, I mean, I don't want to go into a whole like parenting tangent, but you go into
can't.
again, the circle of life where it's like, my mom used to be like, don't call me dude. And then I'm like,
Yes.
I'm telling my daughter, like, don't call me bro or bruh. Like, don't do that. It's like, it's so crazy. It's so
It has to be really weird. It has to be like a bizarro type of feeling.
it is.
Back in the conference room, our good friend Jack Arkin is identifying other members of the task force, and we see a familiar face in one of the
Mm.
photos here. It is Tony, Kalinda's informant friend slash lover slash interest. I don't really
All
know.
those things, all those
All of those
things rolled
things.
into one.
So Kalinda hightails it and is like, "Yo, Tony, do you ever worry about getting caught about things like randomly?"
Kalinda's like, gotta go, bye. Like, where you going, Kalinda? Don't worry about it.
And like Tony's not worried, but she's like trying to tell him things without telling him things, basically.
Tony has an interesting aesthetic. He's like the cross between an emo band frontman and a vampire. Like,
Yeah.
he's got
Yeah.
if I didn't know any better, I'd swear he was wearing eyeshadow. It's like, what's going on? What are you doing? I don't know if we've ever dissected the actor that plays Tony. I don't think we have. I don't think he's been famous enough for us to really talk about. But this is an overacting gentleman. Like, this guy, he's very emotive
He
in
was
his
like,
dialogue.
I got this role on The Good Wife, and I'm going
I'm
to
gonna
use up
milk it.
every scene I can. I am going to eat all of the scenery. I'm going to do all of the
No,
things.
no crumbs left, as the kids say,
Yeah,
of that scenery.
yeah, he's there.
You ate, King.
Um,
You ate.
oh boy. Oh no, Jason. Oh no. Well, the man with the Riz, the
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 Rizzler.
Riz,
The
the
Rizzler.
Rizzler,
Yeah.
Pete, or yeah,
The
Pete.
Alpha Riz
Pete.
Skibbity toilet guy.
Oh boy, he is out to family dinner with everyone else. This was
Oh, you talking
interesting
about
because
Peter?
yeah,
I thought
Pete.
we were still talking about Tony. No, Peter is not a
No,
Rizzler. Peter doesn't have Riz. He does not
are
have
you sure?
Riz.
Because he gets a phone number at this dinner.
That's just because of his name. Peter has negative Riz. Okay,
Peter has.
he's has a Riz deficit. All right.
So they go to this family dinner. I love that they have to make it like very obvious that they're at a Chicago style pizza place. Like we have the red checkered tablecloths. We have, everything, it's very vibey in there. But Ray Ernesto, who works for the mayor, stops by, says, "Hey, child's days are numbered." The kids are like, "Isn't that fun, Dad? Like, isn't that great?" And then the waitress comes over and leaves her number on the check. And Peter, in his like, "I'm a changed man" of it all, is like, "No thanks, no dessert."
Or is it just like, come on, amateur, you're trying to do this in front of my kids? Wait till I'm alone.
Yeah.
You trying to trap me or something? Come on now. Which
Well,
one
it
was
was
it?
like majorly bold of that lady because like this is their first dinner out. You know what I mean? Like it's on
Yeah.
the news. He just got out. What did you think of this family dinner and the conversation with the family? Like, how do you think the kids? What were they trying to tell us?
I mean, I think for the kids, it's like, do you not remember what just happened the past,
Right?
like, year or so? Everything's just seemingly back to normal. We're cutting it up with old dad in a restaurant. Let's just totally forget about the pictures y'all saw, all the
Everything.
evidence that was put in front of your face of your dad just outright cheating with your mom. If I am Grace or Zach, I am not this cool or forgiving with dad yet. That's just
Well,
me.
and especially with Grace, like Grace was really standoffish for a very long time while Peter was in jail and like really kind of trying to figure things out. And then it was like the second he got home and played Wii Sports with her, she was like, "Oh,
Now it's
Dad's
like,
back."
now, they're telling the story of like, oh yeah, we were out in the rain beating on a pinata, and Peter's like, where was I during this? I'd have been like, I don't know, Ted. You're probably out banging some sex worker. I don't know. Like, I just feel like that would have been like my smart ass comment. I'm like, you
Yeah.
know, who knows what you were doing because you were up to some nasty crap when you were not in our presence, apparently. It's just it's so. I mean, Alicia is seemingly, in it too. She's like,
I think she's in it because the kids are in it. I think she's like, this is a nice, normal thing that I haven't been able to do in a long time,
yeah,
but it is definitely, she's still thinking about some things. She does get a phone call while she's here at the pizzeria and basically finds out that the man they were trying to put in witness protection program, Arkin, was killed. And so Kalinda is, of course, on the scene right away. And some guy, not Tony, this is why, like, this case is just like, let's just get information. Some dude shows up and is like, hey, we were raiding a meth house, and then the shot came out of nowhere, and there was someone at the top of the stairs, and the dealer's name is Gorman. Okay, bye.
how
Like, that
how
was,
dare you, Marissa? This man's name was Hunter. Okay,
oh, sorry.
I don't
His
know.
name was Hunter.
In the way they introduced Hunter onto the scene, I really had to rack my brain. And I was like, have we met Hunter before? Because he's like seemingly very comfortable with us as an audience. We don't get an intro to him. He just runs up, Kalinda, you can't be here. I'm like,
Yeah, I
you're
know. I
familiar
was
with
like,
Kalinda? Like, am I supposed to know you? Have I met you before? We've met so many cop people. I don't know which if I've met you before. I know emo vampire guy. I'm very familiar with him. We've had a few other like, are you Frank? I'm like, I'm trying to like, you're not the same guy as Frank, right? You're a different guy.
where did Frank go? I
Poor
miss
Frank. What
Frank.
happened to Frank? And then there's this the one other hot cop that was there for like an episode, and then we never saw him again.
Yeah.
I want Frank
They
back.
settled on Tony.
Yeah, friggin'
Blah,
Tony.
blah.
Gross. Ugh.
Yeah. Tony does arrive and gets a hug from someone, and Kalinda sees this. So they're trying to put something
Well, I
together.
mean, I think they're supposedly like they're all part of this
Task
brotherhood of
force.
a task force. Like, oh my god, not Jack! Give me a hug, brother. Like it was like that. It was that vibe.
Diane is blaming the FBI lady for this leak because obviously somebody found out about Arkin, which is why he was targeted and killed in the situation. So Diane is blaming FBI lady Jill for the leak, and Kalinda and Alicia go over to the funeral of this guy, like the day of, and is like, "Hey, Mrs. Arkin, who is played by
Amy
Amy."
Acker. So
Yeah,
listen, Amy Acker. It's a big deal. A lot of circles. She is. I'm serious.
I
She's
know.
she's not like she's not like huge, right? But she is. She's a very culty actress, right? She was on
She's she's
Angel.
known.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she was on Angel. Also, the show that I used to watch a lot. I think I've mentioned here, Person of Interest,
Hmm.
who starring Linus from Lost,
His husband.
Michael Emerson. Yes, Michael Emerson, who is Carrie
We
Preston,
got there.
Carrie
Yep.
Preston's
Yep.
husband, who is Elspeth. So Elspeth's husband's show, Amy Acker was also on. She was a big part of that show, and she was also, where else was she? She was in some. Oh, she's
Suits.
also in Suits, your show, the show
Yeah.
you like, Suits.
Yeah.
So listen, she's a big deal, and I don't know, considering where this story ends up and the level of fame that she had. I mean, at that point, she hadn't done Person of Interest yet. She was just known for Angel. I felt like she was a bigger name than the role really ended up being. Like she ends up
Yeah.
playing an integral part in the story, but we don't really get a lot from her.
Well, I wonder if this was we made this just in terms of how the case was presented to us as an audience. Like, I wonder if there was definitely more written and filmed that was not
Yeah.
shown to us because of how it's just kind of like pieced together.
Yeah, I didn't get any fun trivia from the IMDb of this one of
Oh
anyone
man.
getting pretend to be stung by a bee or whatever it was last time.
Yeah, that's right. But they go to the funeral and ask Mrs. Arkin, like, hey, our firm wants to have a suit against Cook County and the city of Chicago for wrongful death because we want to investigate more. And this lawsuit would allow them to investigate it and prevent it from getting buried by internal affairs, which is what Childs would want to do because this is Childs' task force. And, Alicia does lay down this pretty sweet line, in my opinion. She says, bureaucracies are often motivated to action by the threat of money. And true
Deep,
statement,
deep,
Alicia.
deep,
True
Alicia, deep,
statement.
like real deep, girl. Like snaps.
Well, and I think it's really interesting that Mrs. Arkin says, I don't want people to think I'm profiting off of this.
Me?
Me?
You want little old widow me to sue? You mean I might get some money? I don't want people to think I'm just out this for money. And I mean,
Yeah.
if you know where this ends up, this is an interesting
Yeah.
way to play this.
Yeah. So they're reviewing the facts of the case at the law firm. Arkin came through the door first, was shot by Garman. Arkin was on his back, but there was a pool of blood mixed with saliva 2 feet away from him, which is indicating that the body was flipped at some point. So of course, Will's like, "Yo, we need ballistics." And who's on ballistics?
Diane's like, I'm all over it.
I got this.
I am on it, if you know what I mean. I am literally on top of
Did
it.
you say
Okay.
ballistics? Yeah,
Ballistics? Ballistics? I got ballistics all day. Let me take it. I love the look that Will gives. She's like, really? It's just like, yeah, I got it. Don't
yeah,
worry about
I
it.
got it. I'm on it.
I was like, all right, go
Uh,
talk to your boyfriend. Sure. Give me crap about talking to Alicia. Meanwhile, you're effing our ballistic expert, but yeah, you go on right on ahead.
After this meeting, Alicia goes downstairs to find that Eli is there. Eli is there basically saying, like, look, I have this great story about how Peter like put a rapist behind bars, but then Childs released the rapist and the person who was raped ended up being dead. And this would make like a great ad, but I can't run it because Peter's not gonna run for another 4 years. This is what he's decided.
I
Because
mean,
of the seductive allure of power.
thanks for the heartwarming story. First of all, Eli, I think you could have gotten your point across without the devastating story about
Not Eli.
about the about
He
the
needs a hug.
murdered murdered SA victim. Like, thanks for
Yeah.
that. It's and I'm surprised that Peter kind of copped too. Like, I was I was so tempted by this waitress because of my power. I don't want to be put in that position.
Well,
Sure, like it's very
the
easy not to put yourself in that position. You can still be an elected official, elected official, and not abuse your power. It just feels like he's like, I don't trust myself. I don't want to be put in that position, so I'm just going to stay away from it.
Well, the kids were asking him at that dinner, like, do you like politics? And he's like, I like what it can do. Like,
I like
trying to be all like
I like what it can
righteous
do,
about it.
children.
Yeah.
Ugh, gross.
Yeah. And so I think he's like trying to whatever. I have zero time for Peter's crises. Um, Not that I have strong opinions about it at all.
No, not at all.
Um, Diane goes to visit Kurt in the barn, and Kurt does his whole thing about like setting the whole thing up, explaining it to Diane, and this was so cute. Like this was so cute. So Kurt says it all up, but at the end of the day says, like, I think the police story is right. And Diane says, you seem to give a lot of credence to what the cops say. And he says this line, it is because of my feelings for you that I have shown you this. And I was like, Kurt, that's so cute.
So official. I love little Kurt when he's got his little crush. It's like watching a grandparents flirt. It's like what is happening here? Like
But it's so cute. He's like, it is because of my feelings for you that I have shown you this. It's very like, and it turns out that he was approached by the state's attorney's office to argue the case. So he wanted to make sure that Diane had the information without necessarily, he's like, I won't bill you for it. Like, I'm trying to be nice to you.
Kurt
And
seems like the type of guy that's like, before I officially accept the offer, I wanted to give you the heads up of
yes,
like some of the stuff I found, so you're not surprised in court. But I wouldn't be able to tell you this if I accepted the offer. He just seems like a very official person.
yes,
Like, I think it was like very early in the season where someone was signing some NDA, and there's like, let me tell you all the juicy stuff before I sign this NDA. And it's
yes.
like it was almost like that like thing. Like, I'm gonna tell you all the little things here before I officially can't, because I do not cross that line when I sign the paper.
Yeah, he's very by the book. Which, is good. Diana's like, oh no, go ahead. You go testify for the state's attorney. I would love to argue against you. I think it would be great. And then she notices some things. Like, I don't know where Diane got this knowledge about all of this stuff, but she is taking pictures left and right. She thinks she
Sneaky,
found something
sneaky.
that she can argue against Kurt. And the way that they shot this also was weird. So she takes like two pictures. We get it. She's taking pictures. But then they show like the flash coming out of the
Cha-ching,
barn for like
cha-ching,
ever.
cha-ching, cha-ching. Well, I think it was, didn't we open up on the scene of, we see the same type of flashes, but it's gunshots. Now this
Yes.
is flashes of cameras. So it's like, ooh, we're being artsy. We're being
Ooh,
cool.
artsy.
And it's
This
like,
is not the third season of The Bear, okay? It's just
yeah. Just like, oh, it's like sneaky, sneaky, Diane, sneaky, sneaky. Because Kurt goes take a phone call. She's like, just make sure
snap,
everybody's
snap,
around.
snap, snap.
Snap, 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 snap. And listen, I think this is the type of foreplay that Diane and Kurt get down with, because I'm pretty sure
Oh
that
yeah.
after Kurt came back from that phone call, they took full advantage of that barn and those hay bales. They probably, they probably had made sweet, sweet love in the middle of this simulated murder scene, like, because I feel like they're that weird.
It is because of my feelings for you that I
It is
have taken
because of
these
my
photos.
feelings for you.
Well, speaking of feelings, Will and Giada go to dinner. We learn a little bit about Giada. She turns out to be super rich. And Will's kind of freaked out about it.
The way this was playing out, I was like, are you rich, like, legally, or like
I know. I
should I
was
be
like, are you
worried?
mobster
Yeah, should I be worried
rich?
about who your dad
Or...
really is? Like, is your dad like a Tony Soprano type? Like, what's going on? Because it was like, different languages. Like, yeah, my dad's the third richest person in the world. Are you
Well,
threatened?
yeah, Will's
Are
like
you
fourth
threatened by
richest.
that?
She's like third. Not that
Actually,
we're
it's
counting.
the third. Are you? Some men may be threatened by that.
And I love that like Will's response is get me the most expensive bottle of wine.
Yeah. Listen, it's on Giada, so I was like,
It's
hey,
on.
let's go. Bring it
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, it was interesting. And then the moment that I think we both have been waiting for has arrived. So there is a deposition for this murder case that we've been talking about. And who shows up to represent the state's attorney in this situation? It is no other than Carrie Agos. And I gotta tell you, man, the way he turned up here and he just is like pouring his water. He's telling Alicia, I'm here for you.
But
He's
listen,
like
first
all
of
over
all,
it.
the scene where Alicia walks up to Carrie, she's like, hey,
What are you
hey,
doing here?
hey, hey, Carrie, what's up? Like, do you have like a meeting schedule? He's like, no, I'm here for you. Like, whoa, hey, like, whoa.
Like he literally like did like a heel turn. Like it was like he's a totally different character.
Like, you could, like, Alicia was like tiptoeing up to, like, should I call security right now? Like, is something about to pop off? Is this a disgruntled employee situation? He's like, no, I'm here for you, Alicia. And yeah, this is a deposition, but Carrie has changed his disposition.
Yeah.
You like that?
Ooh,
You like that? That was good.
ooh.
That was good.
If this was the Survivor episode, that would be the title of
Boom.
the
Yeah, you go.
episode. Yeah.
But yeah, and it's like Carrie is going, like you said, full heel. He's just like, he's pouring his Pellegrino water. Eh. Like, who
Yeah.
who
And then
is this
it's like,
person? Like,
did you go on vacation? Yeah. How much did it cost? 8,000, blah, 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 to be exact. And I know what you would say, Alicia, but or Mrs. Floric. He calls her Mrs. Floric.
The daggers he's shooting at Alicia
Oh,
was so good, and like Alicia's giving it right back to him. So, like I said last episode, I didn't remember that Carrie took this turn into the state's attorney office, but I am really digging it so far.
yeah, it's a good time. Will and Diane are like watching from afar. Like, did we make the right decision? We'll see. Carrie's a good lawyer. He'll figure it out. Like, it'll be fine. And Kalinda like calls them smart, like good play. Good
Mm-hmm.
play there, Carrie. Then we get okay. Now we are moving into territory. I already don't like Peter. I'm just gonna warn you.
We know. We know.
My yeah, but like my it's almost as equal as much as I don't like Jackie. So
Yeah,
like
if you didn't like Jackie before, the turn Jackie's been
mm,
taking recently is this episode is just like, oh, we are not going into good places with Jackie here. Like, I there are times I've rooted for you, Jackie, but you were going into some bad stuff here.
yeah. So Jackie, now that Peter's free, Jackie can like go back into high society, not like go to her lunches, all of the stuff. And Eli is like freaking out because of Peter's decision not to run for 4 years. So he's like, I'm gonna go talk to Jackie at this dinner. And Jackie's all like, what's your name again?
Mr.
Mr. Goldman.
Goldman. Like, first of all, that's a little like it's got some
Mhm,
anti-Semitic vibes happening.
mhm,
I'm like,
mhm, big time.
calm down. Like, be cool. Be cool. Be cool, Jackie. And the way that Jackie is approaching Eli, the way she approaches Pastor Isaiah later, I'm
Yeah,
like,
it's not good.
yo, like you are really trying to give Jackie this villain turn, and I'm not digging it.
I not a fan. Not a fan. Eli tells Jackie that Peter doesn't want to run for another 4 years. She's basically like, well, you're going to have to work with me. And she says something that was really interesting is like, Peter is easily moved by the people that are around him. So you have to like vet the people that are around him, which
Yeah.
is weird. But Jackie's like, don't worry. You're going to announce that you're running by the end of the week. I'll take care of it. My favorite moment though was basically like Eli is surrounded by a bunch of old white ladies, and as he's leaving, he's like, "Shalom." Like, it was so good.
So good.
It was so good. So Kurt has come in for his deposition. It's time for Diane to question him, and this like Diane was in top form against Kurt, and basically says, hey, when you showed me this thing, you showed me the C stand, and that is against FBI standards. And Kurt is like, oh my god, how did she figure this out? Like, how did she know? But also at the same time, I think he's like, oh my god, she
Uh,
figured this out. Like, it was like,
she goes, what other homespun investigative
oh,
practices do you use? Like, ooh, snap. And then when Kurt leaves, I'm not sure if this was like calm fury or if he was turned on. I don't know what this
I think
was.
it was everything. I
The way
think it was
that he
everything.
the way that he left the room was like Kurt's. I think Kurt is confused about what he's feeling right now. He's like, I think he's impressed. He's mad. He's turned on. There's so many emotions going through, and I just love Carrie following behind like a little dog. Like, wait for me.
Well, and Carrie was such a jerk of like, are we sure you should have this deposition given the relationship between
Yeah,
like
and I like Diane owning him. Like, well, that seems more reason for you not to hire him than, than for for me not to be here. Like, so that's up to you, my guy. Carrie's it's just, and I also love the look that Diane's giving him. Like, she's kind of, I think she's kind of impressed with Carrie, and at the same time, she's like, oh, you little child, you
yeah,
little
like
sweet child.
I'm like I love how you think you're gonna beat me, but I'm gonna
Mhm.
squash you like a bug.
Yeah,
Ready, go.
like, oh, you're so cute. Like, thinking you're a big boy, thinking you're a big old, thinking you're a big lawyer now. You're so cute. Oh my gosh, I'm about to destroy you. Like, it's so good. But I think she also has this kind of ray of, you know, pride maybe. Where it's just like,
Yeah, it's like that
yeah,
was her guy, right? Like
mhm.
she mentored him a little bit. She supported him
Oh,
while he was
look at
there.
you. Look at you being a big old lawyer boy.
Yeah,
Oh, you're so cute.
chip off the old block.
Yeah.
Okay, now the case is going to get real weird. Okay, so Kalinda goes back to Mrs. Arkin to get the cell phone to look at the picture of the guns that Mr. Arkin took to get the metadata off that photo to find out when the photo was taken. And that leads her to the credit card bill
Yeah,
that
it's
shows
so many
that she
puzzles.
like went to a gas station. And then I don't know, did I miss this? Why did she do a Google search for self-storages near the gas station?
I guess that, because the picture of the guns, there was like a storage tote. She's like, maybe it's in a storage locker. Like, who can explain Kalinda's sixth sense? No one. She just knows things. Okay, she just has this way about her, of all her years of living. I did love when she was looking at the metadata, where it's like it's so complicated. Like, if you look at a cell phone picture and you go to options, you go to these different things, it'll tell you the time and the date. Isn't that cool? It's like, yeah, I can do that with like one hit of my
We've
butt
come
of the
so
button right
far,
now.
Jason.
Like,
We've
it's
come
just so
so
funny.
far.
It's so funny, like looking at the 2010 things. It's like I'm super techie. I can know when this picture was taken because I know about cell phones. Like, I'm super technologically advanced. I'm cool. This is so
I know
funny. And then,
something you don't.
yeah, and then Mrs. Arkin, like, what are you doing? What are you looking at? Like, what are you looking at?
Mm-hmm.
Like, is this something I should be worried about? Because of what happens later. But yeah, yeah. That's so. It's like, so. I wanted to ask you, as we're
Yeah.
looking at the Google Maps, did you
I
see
really think it was a Bing map, but yeah.
Bing Maps? Sorry, Bing was in at the time, I guess. Did you recognize where she was searching for the storage lockers?
No, I just was like, oh, it's on Wells. Like, it's just, why? Was it a place? Did I
Well, it's
miss it?
Chicago.
Did
I
I
know
un-Chicago
you're
myself?
you're yeah, you're the Chicago
No.
person. Did you like see any street names that you remembered?
Well, like, Wells is a major street, and there could be a gas station there, and there were no landmarks
I
really
kind of
in that
expected you to
situation.
get the address of the place and go
And
there to
go
see what was
there.
there. You're really kind of
I'm
letting me
sorry
down,
to have
Marissa.
disappointed you.
Letting me down.
Well,
This
if you
is
come to
this is the
Chicago, we
storage
can
locker.
do
We can do the
a
tour. Oh, we can do the.
podcast live
Do you think
from the storage
if
unit.
there's not already a good wife walking tour, you should start it. This is the storage locker that Kalinda and her FBI girlfriend went into and discovered guns and drugs.
Yes. So, yes, they go there, they find the thing, or they find the guns and the drugs, but then, like, they find more. Then, like, this was a very,
They find
very
each other.
2010, yeah, a very 2010 way of like alluding that two people are having sex, because there's like a lot of feels, right? A lot of like, I'm gonna close the door. Who are you calling? Blah 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 blah. Turns out that Jill, FBI lady, knows about Tony, and so Kalinda, like, to change the subject, like ups the flirting, and like basically like ends up, we don't see anything happen because it's 2010, and
God
God
forbid.
forbid.
God forbid we see two ladies
Yeah,
kissing on TV. Oh my gosh. Out
but
of your
we
mind.
do get Kalinda calling Will, and then Will being the one to tell the audience what has happened with the line, "Are you okay? It sounds like you've been running," which I just thought was hilarious.
Yeah, obviously some other stuff went down in that storage locker, obviously. Boy, like the life of Kalinda Sharma, just getting it on in a storage locker full of
Ugh.
guns and drugs. I mean, just wow.
Well, it's a little bit different than the life of Will Gardner, who gets a bottle of wine from Giada with the card, "How's your masculinity now?" Weird.
Hey.
Yeah. So Alicia is now questioning Mr. Hunter. See, I got there, and is basically like saying, "Okay, how did this life get there?" And she's like going in hard, right? Like, she is really pressing him. He said, "Okay, let me confer with my counsel." Talks to Carrie and is like, "We're gonna adjust my testimony. Yeah, I moved him because he was wearing a wire and he was trying to nail us, and that wire is gonna show that everything that I've said up until this point is true."
I thought this was kind of clumsy because
Really? I'm so
he was like,
surprised because
I moved him because he was wearing a wire. I was like,
yeah.
that sentence doesn't really make sense. First of all, like I could see if you were like, I moved him to try and check his vital signs, and then I found a wire on him.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that would make sense. Like, I think when Kurt was talking to Diane about it, like he said that was his reasoning. He probably moved him to check for his vital signs and, to see if he was living or not. I was like, that makes a lot more sense than I moved him because he was wearing a wire.
Yeah. I don't know, but this has got Carrie like feeling so good about himself that he tells Alicia, "I'd prepare for a season of losing."
Prepare for a season of losing, Alicia. Like, dude, this is not it, my friend. He's gone from the Justin Bieber swoop to like a more gelled
Well, he's for the state's
throwback
attorney's
thing.
office
Yeah,
now, you know,
he's big
like
time now.
he's big time. They do hear the recording of The Wire, and it does support that the task force was what doing what they said they were going to do, and supports Mr. Hunter's story. So
And
that's a bummer for the case.
Kalinda's not having it. She's like, nope, this is a setup.
Like she
Something's
leaves
dirty
like
here.
right
Gotta
away.
go. Yep.
Well,
She's like, I'm
because
not having it.
she's got a lot of like credibility for herself in this game because she's talking to Tony, she's talking to Jill, she's talking to the law firm. She has to make sure that she is in control of the stories so that nobody is like figuring things out.
Well, she's convinced herself that her man boy emo vampire man is all, muddled up into this. And I think she's pissed because her Kalinda sense betrayed her. She didn't realize that Mr. Tony was a bad cop, and I think she is pissed that she didn't
Yeah.
realize it.
Yeah. Then we get another scene with my least favorite person besides Peter, which is Jackie. She is like taking on confronting the pastor because of this whole like abusive power thing that Peter's hooked up on or whatever. So he goes and like I don't know, Pastor Isaiah is now like opening up a side like
Soup
a
kitchen,
yeah,
a
yes.
co-op.
Oh, yeah, okay. I was like, I don't know what's happening here. So he's opening up a thing and she goes up to him and says, this is just a phase. You are a phase. And then, like, I don't even want to repeat the line because it is one of the most, like, I can't believe this was on television, white supremacist lines that I think I heard thus far in the show ever. Like, I don't want to say it,
I mean,
but
she straight up bullies Pastor Isaiah. She's
yeah.
like, leave my son alone. Stop making him feel like a bad man. It's like, okay. And Pastor Isaiah's
And
like,
he's like, I'm
he
a
is a
bad
bad
man.
man. Everyone's a bad person. Like that's just the way it is. She's like, eat my blood, and whatever God you serve doesn't match that. Like,
That is like, that's
gasp.
like super, like, that was I was like, Jackie, what circles are you running in? Because we didn't know about that until like
Well, I
right now.
mean, I don't think it's as sinister as you think it is. I think it's just like he's my son. I know what's good for him. Like
Yeah,
he doesn't
yeah,
need religion. I've
sure.
got him. I'm better than God. Okay.
Because I am Jackie.
And it's Jackie pretty much totally excusing Peter's behavior. Like he's a good man. He doesn't need absolution. He's learned his lesson. My Peter's a good boy. So leave him alone with your God talk. Let him run for state's attorney. Like, give me a break, Jackie.
Well,
Give
because
me a
I need to look good, right? Like it's not
yeah.
just Peter. Like it's because I need to look good and I need to have access to the society that I'm used to and blah blah blah.
I think it's more about the shame of having a son like Peter that has done bad things. She doesn't want to really face
Yeah,
that.
that's fair.
She wants to say he's just, I mean, you see it all the time, and in parents of people that do terrible things, like he's a good boy, he just misunderstood, he just made a mistake. Like, no, man, Peter made several mistakes knowingly and on purpose. So the sooner you confront that, the better you'll be with all of this, because the answer is not to go bully a pastor. That's not the answer. It's crazy. It's weird.
Yeah. Back at the law firm, it's a late night, and Alicia, who just had pizza with her husband, is about to have pizza with Will.
Interesting.
And
I
this
mean,
is
I guess,
he's cashing in the dinner. Like this
yeah.
is
And
the dinner.
this is the famous dinner. Like he walks. He's like, dinner. Okay.
We're not getting out of here. Dinner. Yeah, let's do it. And he like Will is going in. Like he is not afraid to ask
He's
questions.
turning.
He's
Will is the Rizzler. He's turning up the Riz to 1,000. He's turning up
yeah.
the Riz
Like,
here.
what did you think of me? No, I'm not going to answer that dangerous conversation.
It's dangerous. It's a dangerous question, Will.
But Giada seems sweet, you know,
Oh yeah,
like
you gotta love that turnaround from Alicia, like, changing the subject. Like, oh, I see what you're doing here. I see what you're doing.
and then there's this like conversation of is it always going to be this way? And I didn't know like that is just such a big statement. It could have gone like 800 different ways. Like
Yeah.
What is it? But he ends up telling Alicia, like, I like myself around you, Alicia, and I don't like myself around other people. And she's like, no, that's not true. It was a moment. And then the phone rings and he says, don't answer it because you're just going to go back to the real world. And she's like, yeah, I
I
have
think
to.
I think this is an important moment to pinpoint
All
because
right.
we'll see it later in the episode too
Yep.
of like, bro, like yeah, you're a bachelor, you are man about town, you are a single man with no other responsibilities besides work. Alicia has a whole ass life.
Yep.
Like, I just don't think he understands the gravity of that and really is looking at it from Alicia's point of view. He's looking at it in this like love is all that matters type of thing. It's like,
He's looking
it
at it
doesn't
from
though.
the point of view of Georgetown Alicia and
Mm-hmm.
like them back then and trying to make those versions of themselves dreams come true without necessarily realizing that they're not in the same space anymore.
I'ma say it again.
All right.
Kings, I know you're listening. Listen to me. Listen. Get me my prequel. Let me see the pool scene where
Yeah.
Alicia and Will meet with young Will doing a cannonball into the pool. Let's get it done.
That
Let's
was
do
such
it.
a funny conversation. It's like so embarrassing. And she's like, no, it wasn't.
It was hot.
It's like, okay, it's a
You
cannonball.
know what young Alicia wanted to do to young Will when he made that cannonball? Bad stuff.
Well, the phone rings. It's Kalinda. She picks it. Alicia picks it up, and she says, "Like this is also so high school. It's like I'm just with Will. No,
No.
nothing's going on. No." Well, Kalinda has found out that there's like a lead with having a person by the name of Hank Lindell had called multiple times, so they're going to go, try to find out who Hank Lindell is.
Well, yeah, that guy had called because all this stuff leads Kalinda to they leads our Scooby gang to say, let's figure out who Gorman was talking to.
Right.
Who tipped off Gorman is the big thing we're looking for because our gang has figured out Gorman was lying in wait for Jack Arkin. They think that the task force, set up Arkin to be killed by Gorman. They told Gorman, Arkin's going to be coming in the door. You kill him, problem solved. So we're trying to figure out who exactly tipped off Gorman that Arkin was on his way.
Well, and Hank Lindell had called numerous times, so this is their
Yeah.
lead. As Alicia's going out the door, Will, of course, not giving up, says we have options. We always have options. Just saying. Just saying, if you want to upend your whole life, we have options.
It's easy peasy. 1, 2, 3, just like that.
So Alicia and Kalinda go over to Mr. Liddell's house. This is a classic like procedural switcheroo where it's like obviously not someone who could have made this
Yeah.
phone call. This man is very old and has very limited mobility and needs around the clock care. And it just so happens that Trish Arkin, Mrs. Arkin, is one of the people that provides that care. Was the person who was making those phone calls.
Oh boy. So yeah. When I saw Amy Acker was the wife, I was like, it's a pretty big, like pretty.
It's a
She's
big
not a
get.
nobody. She's
It's a
not a
big
no
get.
one. Like she's not
Yeah.
someone you would hire for, a scene as just a wife. It's like this is going to play back in some type of way, and this is the way. Now after this, I would have assumed we'd get some big revelation scene with Amy Acker where we
Or
confront her.
like Chase, or like she's
That,
on the
yeah,
run,
running
or
the name of the
yeah,
episode.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
just like I just would have assumed that this would lead to some confrontation. This would lead to her being arrested by Jack's brothers in arms. I don't know. Like vampire emo boy would come in, arrest her,
Right.
but we don't get that.
Well, later we do get this moment where Tony finds out, like Tony puts two and two together that Kalinda is like telling people things and stuff and things. And so like Kalinda runs up and is like, I'm sorry, and gives the name of like who really tipped off Gorman. So like again, that scene could have been earlier in the episode and we could have gotten the resolution to that
Yeah.
whole thing. But I agree. Like, this was not the weight of the actor was not the weight of the plot.
Yes, that's a great way to put it. Yes, it was kind of I wanted more from it. I'll say
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Trish Trish Atkin got it. Well, okay. So what happened was she did it, and then Arkin was stashing drugs and weapons, so he was being investigated, and so he was going to turn on his partners. And Trish did not want to go into witness protection program with her husband because of an abusive situation. So therefore, she ended up getting her husband killed, and then because this it had to do with this task force, Childs wants the case to be dropped. So he offers $500,000 to drop the charges of wrongful death against
Yeah.
the Cook County and the city of Chicago.
So she's basically going to cash in on setting her husband up to be
Yeah.
murdered. And
Yeah.
like basically from what we learned, Jack Arkin was in on this by himself. Like his task force friends were all apparently innocent,
Yep.
and Jack Arkin was in on this himself and wanted to get witness protection to avoid being prosecuted eventually because they were onto him. So he wanted to kind of make a deal to get a witness protection and be like, you can't arrest me now. Like, yeah, I lied and said that my friends were in on it, but psych, just kidding. So that was an interesting turn to this, and then to find out that Trish is the one that set him up to die, and yeah, and Kalinda's pissed. Kalinda's like, I liked I liked how Will and Diane were like, so that means all of Jack's friends were innocent, and Kalinda's like, yep, and Alicia's like, oh, not so fast now. Like that doesn't necessarily mean that they were all innocent. And Kalinda's like, drop it, Alicia, drop it,
Yeah.
let
Well,
it
earlier in
go.
the episode, there was a conversation between the two of them where Alicia was like, "You're really into this case here, Kalinda." She's like, "What? I just like have friends that are cops,
Kalinda's
and
like,
it's like a
you
big
have
deal."
no idea how up in my eyeballs I am in this case right now. Like, you have no clue. But yeah, like so we found out about the windfall for Trish before Kalinda gives Tony
Yes.
the
Yeah.
name. So I guess we're supposed to surmise that Tony went and arrested Trish.
I
I just
guess.
wish you would have gotten that in
Yeah.
writing in the episode,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Agreed. There is a conversation which kind of like is parallel to the conversation that was in the first episode of like, when is our job wrong? When are we not, like doing the law? This is still a question that's coming up for Alicia as she's,
Pick a
working for the law
side.
firm.
Pick a side,
Yeah.
Alicia. Like
Yeah.
you've vacillated several times throughout this season of like, I'm ready to defend a murderer that I think murdered their wife, or I'm ready to go to bat for
Well,
someone I
not
know
just
is
think,
guilty.
I know
Yeah,
guilt. Yeah.
I'm ready to take evidence from a possible crime scene. What
Yeah.
break bad or don't like
Yeah.
nothing's
Well, and
gray.
Will like just says it's wrong when it fails our client. Like that's
Yeah.
the law. Like that's how it is. Well, this season does not end without one more visit between Diane and Kurt. Diane was feeling bad, I think, after her questioning, so she goes over, and this is like a zero dialogue scene. Like this is
Mm-hmm.
all like knock knock knock, open the door to the barn, let her in, make your own conclusions as to what was
With
happening.
the eyes are telling me like,
The eyes,
we gonna, are we
there were eyes.
done? Are we good? You gonna let me in? Are we gonna do our do to do, or am I leaving? He's like, let's go.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, they're still on good terms. So that's a positive here in this episode.
I have to say, I do appreciate seeing a relationship like this on television. Like it is, at the time, they were old people for me.
Yeah.
But now I am much more close to Diane's age than
Mm-hmm.
it is now. And given that I am not married and that I am single, it is nice to just see that there is still hope and there is still
Oh,
possibilities for
Marissa.
love through.
Marissa.
It's true, Jason. It's hard out here. I'm telling you, I know you watch all the marriage shows. I know you
Mm-hmm.
see people getting married all the time, but I gotta tell you, it's hard in your
Listen,
40s
Marissa,
to meet people.
you might have to look outside the United States. I watch a lot of those shows too. 90 Day Fiance, that might be the way to go. I can suggest you to some areas of the country to skip.
Okay, you can be my consultant.
Yeah, I'll be your Sherpa. Yeah.
Thanks.
I'm here for
Anywho,
you. I'm here for you.
but it is very like it's thank you. It's a very sweet little story. Um, okay, we've come to the end of the episode. It's do or die time for Peter's press conference. He's having a press conference. There's a conversation between Alicia and Peter in the hallway. There's this whole idealistic conversation about from Peter about like government only works when people step up, and I was an okay state's attorney and I want to be a great state's attorney.
Let me stop you there, Peter. You were
Were
okay.
you?
You were okay, state's attorney. I recall some fuzzy situations you said you got yourself into for some friends. I don't know if I would say a good state's attorney does that. I wouldn't say a good state's attorney did some of the stuff that we know you did.
Right?
So dial back the rhetoric on good. Like
Well, and
I
he
was a
frames
state's
it in
attorney.
this like way of like when I was in jail, I read the story about blah blah blah, and it only like, okay, whatever. And Alicia's like, I don't want the kids to be involved. He's like, they won't, and I want to work. And he's like, I want you to work. I'm like, yeah. Again, my tolerance for Peter
It's
is
al-
very low.
it was almost like he was hyping himself up for the speech he was about to make. Like
Yeah,
you're like politician Peter right now. You're trying to sell me on something, and it's whack. He was like, oh, there's this mural in Siena, and people on one side where government worked, people on the other side where government didn't work. It's
yeah,
about people stepping up. I almost like can do the politician hands of like the little the yeah
yeah.
people stepping up. Okay, all right. It was like all right, Peter, we
It
get it.
was,
You want
yeah.
to be state's attorney again? Great,
Well, and
have
I
the ball.
feel like he has been playing this. I mean, just as because this is might be me writing the show, but I don't care. So since that dinner of like when the kids asked him, what do you like about politics? And he's like, I like what it can do. He's been developing like the story. He's like, this is the angle. This is what
This
I can take. This is what I can hook onto
is
to
what I'll
talk
hit.
about my re-entry into politics. Yeah. So they have that conversation. Alicia's like, okay, fine. Meanwhile, Will has cracked open the expensive wine and pours it in a mug, like the bachelor that he is, and decides to call Alicia. Okay. So he calls Alicia. Alicia picks up the phone, which was like,
I mean,
I was surprised.
this is right before she's
Yes.
expecting to
She's like
go in front of the
waiting
press.
in the wings,
Yeah,
standing next to Eli,
it was
gets a
like,
phone call.
hey, babe, where you at, girl? You up?
Well, and she says, I'm at Peter's press conference, and he
He's like,
continues.
I don't care. Whatever.
I
Listen
don't
up.
want to I don't want to go through life without making myself clear. And she's like, yeah. I get the romance, but show me the plan. Show me the plan. Show me how this can work. And I'm in. Without a plan, I can't be there. I can't be
I
there for you.
I really loved it because she interrupts his whole spiel. He's like,
Hmm.
we've been up and down, back and forth. It's like when I look at you, she's like, hey, okay, listen. Like enough of the
Like, I get it.
yeah, enough romance, bro. Like I'm like the line of the episode, the line of the season. Poetry is easy. It's the parent
Yeah.
teacher conferences that are hard. Like, damn. Like, there you go. Like, she's like, show me the plan. Like, I get the romance, I get the lovey dovey words, but I have. She breaks it down. She's like, I got kids. I gotta deal with the press. I have a
I have a
husband.
husband,
I got a whole ass
or as they
husband.
say
He's a
on
shitty
Real
husband.
Housewives,
He a shitty husband, but he's a husband. He's still there.
a
He's still alive
husband.
and exists.
Yeah.
So we gotta deal with all that. Give me a real plan. Like stop saying schmoofy doofy love stuff and tell me
Yeah.
what you want this to be. Like stop dancing around it as he has been doing as they both have been doing all season. Stop playing with me and tell me what you want. Tell me how you see this going. I don't know what the plan would be. Like
Well, neither does Will. Will's like, okay.
and
Like
it's like Will, like, are you ready to be a stepdaddy? Like, have you even thought about that? Have you even has it even crossed your
he
mind?
just wants to cut through the sexual tension. He just wants to
Yeah.
relieve that like frustration for himself.
But
He's not thinking beyond that.
I also think he's in this dreamscape of like what he thinks life with Alicia would be like. Like,
Mm.
I don't think in Will's vision of his life with Alicia, I don't think the kids are in it even a
Oh
little
no.
bit. He's
No.
like, Alicia is, in his mind, he's like, Alicia is so much better than these, you know,
Ruffians.
ruffian, or just these
Like these.
these people that I deal with that are vapid, that don't have substance. He sees Alicia as having substance, and also she banging. So like it's everything Will wants. He wants substance now. He doesn't want to keep, going out with people that don't have what Alicia has. Alicia is a professional. He can have everything he wants in Alicia, but he
Yeah.
doesn't see the reality of what being with Alicia would be like. You know, are you ready to be like I said, to be a stepdaddy? Are you ready to deal with Peter? Like,
Yeah.
like I don't think he's thinking about any of that. He's thinking about how awesome it would be to just be with Alicia as a romantic partner. He's not thinking about all the nuances of this, and that's how Alicia is like. I love what Alicia did here. I really do. It's like stop with the romance. Stop with the like fairy tale. Let's be
Hmm.
real. Let's be grounded in the real world here.
And I love how what it does for us as an audience because like, could you imagine? This is 23 weeks plus some because there was like holiday breaks and stuff of some of people's lives. Like this moment is something that has been building up, building up, building up this entire time, and the show kind of just like pulls it back
Mhm.
underneath the rug for everyone of like because you hear the conversations, you're like, oh, Will's calling, she's gonna like this is gonna happen, and she's like, no, I need a plan.
And the best part of this is while all this is happening,
Yeah,
Eli is skulking around in the back, like
he's
one of those,
Eliing.
yeah, one of those evil cartoon snakes, just like just slithering in the back. Like, what are you
Yep.
doing? Like, this is concerning. This is weird.
He's like,
Something's going on.
you're gonna make my life harder. And it was
Mhm.
just like, mm-hmm,
Yep.
yep. And Peter's on the podium. Justice is what this job should be about. Well, duh, you're state's attorney. Also, I believe I am the change and I am that new beginning.
You just
What
had the
the
job.
frick?
You just had the job not that long ago. We are changing from what you did. Like, yes, Childs has been here for a little bit, but he is affected some bad change probably. But bruh, you are the one that made this system in the first place. We gotta change it from what you did mostly. And I was like, hey, Peter, get real, get right.
Yeah. 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 And then it's also like I hate when politicians who are running again say that they are the new moment. I'm like, you were literally like we literally experienced you. Like how can you be new?
I
I don't
mean,
understand.
listen,
I hear ya. I hear
you
ya.
know, talking
I
from
hear ya.
past to present. I mean, some things never change.
It's true. It is a very politician way to go.
Mm-hmm.
But as this is going on, Peter's speech ends, okay? And then he, of course, has to like hold out his hand to parade Alicia up there. And
Mm-hmm.
as she takes like what, like two steps? She takes like two steps. Her phone rings again. And there's this very dramatic Alicia looking at her phone, looking up at Peter.
Peter.
Eli also in the background, like, this has got to move. This has got to go. And all we see is that it was Will on the phone and the season ends.
Well, no. Well, I mean,
Yeah, Will calls again, and that's it in
yeah.
this one.
Peter, Alicia looks at the phone. Peter looks at Alicia like, "Why you look at your phone?" And we got Eli like,
Mm-mm-mm.
"Don't do it, Alicia. Don't pick it up." So yeah,
And then you have to wait an entire forever to find out
three.
what
I
else
mean,
he
listen
could
back.
be calling about.
Kids, back in my day, what happened is the show went off in June. You wouldn't pick it back up until September. You had to
But
wait 3 whole months.
there was the era of the reruns. So instead of all of
Yeah.
these like America's Got Talent shows or things that come on in the summer, we would get reruns up until the new season, which did kind of help. But yes, that is season 1 of The Good Wife. We basically are where we started, like physically in the same place
Yeah.
as
And I think that's on purpose. Like I think
yeah.
it's cyclical. It's an interesting moment to kind of circle back on, to think about all that's happened in the months since the scandal first broke, and now to where we are now, as if Peter's got this new thing he's trying to this new old thing he's trying to get back to, and again, Alicia is being asked to be
The
the
Good
good
Wife.
wife. Good wife. So yeah, it's a fun kind of circle of life moment.
Yeah, I mean, this season, it was a very strong season of television. I could totally see why it was picked up for a second season.
Yeah.
We got a lot of, well, got a lot of good character stuff. The stuff with Carrie at the end is really intriguing to me. A lot of the character development that we saw this entire season will only carry us into the next seasons of the show. So I'm so excited that we get to continue talking about this together, Jason. It's so much fun.
Yeah, I can't wait for season 2. It's going to be a really fun time, and to see how the show, I guess, evolves now that it's proven itself, because
Hmm.
when a TV show is in production, they can't tell the impact immediately. So it'll be good to see how we move, knowing that the show is a success, and how
Hmm.
we try to evolve the show and not stay in our same bubble. Which, how can we branch out?
In other words, what happens when a network sees that it's going to be a hit and decides to give money to a show? like,
Yes.
like
What will change?
what can we do and what
Yeah.
will change? I can tell you we will not see Kalinda kissing any women, but we will see other things.
Things haven't changed that much in the
Like it's not, don't
2010s,
expect
11s.
much,
Yeah.
but there will be some changes.
Listen, this was fun. This is a blast. Happy to reach this milestone. It's an
Yeah.
important one for us. Marissa, do you want to tell the people out there where they can find you, how they can keep up with you, what you're doing right now?
I am findable on Instagram and threads at It's Me Marissa G. I have a couple of different projects going on right now. One is about millennial nostalgia, and the other is about tech for creators. So if you're interested in either one of those, you can find the link in my bio on Instagram or threads. Other than that, I'm hanging out here with you, Jason, getting ready for season 2.
Very nice, very nice. If you want to find me on the Twitter, you can find me at JAYR1085. As far as podcasts go, we've of course got this. We've got the Elspeth that we're doing alongside of The Good Wife. You can also find me on the Rob Has Podcast Network on the Love at First Sight feed, on the A Perfect Match podcast, talking about the show Married at First Sight. I know that was a lot of names, but it's okay. Me and Asia Welch are talking about the 18th season of Married at First Sight. We're having a blast with all these messy people. Anything else that comes out, I do little here's little odds and ends of podcasts I guest on. I'll be talking about that on my Twitter. So if you want to check out what else I'm doing, you can go there to find that out. Until next time, until next season, stay good.